And welcome back everyone to recap of round number 6 of the European Chess Championship. And today I'm gonna spoiler you already. I lost a pretty terrible game. I'm quite upset. Today is such a day where I'm kind of asking myself why am I why am I even playing chess? Because yeah, it's just an unnecessary loss totally. And yeah, the tournament is not going well at all. Again, today time management was absolutely horrible as in all the games here. So it's simply not going my way here, and yeah, I have no words. Basically, I'm just really upset at myself by how I'm playing. But yeah, let's have a look at the game. I have to say that I think I played quite long, quite good actually for quite a long time. But simply at the end of the day, the time management was what cost me the game. So he played d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, and I went for the Queen's Indian, which I briefly prepared. And he always went for this line a3. Also, my preparation wasn't great in this game and hasn't been great in this tournament at all. Somehow I'm just kind of lacking energy here. There's not much to do in general in the place here, and it's just not a not a great place to be totally honest, because there's simply nothing much to do, no places to walk and to exercise. So that's yeah, tough, but it's basically my own fault for projecting this on my chess. That's not how it should be. So I'm not making any excuses here. So he played this line a3, which anyway, he had a couple of games already, and I wasn't that well prepared, even though he played it already quite a couple of times. So bishop b7, and now bishop f4, which is quite a rare line. Usually people go knight c3 here, when black has two options, either d5 or knight e4, which are both very much playable. Bishop f4 is what he played. Now I went for c5, which is the best move. He went knight c3. I still briefly checked that move, but mostly had a look at e3. But yeah, anyway, knight c3 is probably the main line. So again, my preparation here was just not great at all. And after c takes d4, now he went for queen d4, which I didn't check at all. I only prepared knight takes d4 briefly. But queen takes d4 is actually, then I remembered that this is also a move, and there were some games which I remembered. I think Ding Liren had a game here. And again, I spent totally unnecessary amounts of time here, even though the position is just playable in general. Okay, knight c6 is quite logical, queen d3, and here 15 minutes for this move, knight h5. Yeah, just unnecessary. I mean, I have nothing else to say. It was anyway the move I wanted to play. I was also thinking about bishop b7 when I wasn't sure about knight b5 now, short castle, and now knight d6, which is probably also playable. Like I have some moves. I could even take this and then go for something like knight e7. I guess that's also playable with the idea of knight e4 to take that bishop. But I went for knight h5, which is probably the best. Now bishop g5. So I'm just trying to kick out this bishop from f4, that there are no ideas with knight b5 with the idea of knight c7. So bishop d5, bishop e7, takes, and now knight b5, short castle, knight goes to d6. But it's just attacking the bishop, nothing else basically in this position. And I will sooner or later be able to kick that knight out. I went for rook a b8. I was also considering knight a5, which might be the best move. It's in general not much is going on here. I was quite happy actually with how the opening went. Just my time management wasn't that great. Knight a5 is also possible with some ideas, like I can also move the bishop and then have knight b7. That's one idea. Also knight f4 might be an idea. And also some bishop takes f3 ideas, like after b4, which looks quite logical, I have bishop takes f3. And then I can simply go back with the knight. So that would also be possible, but rook b8 was quite logical anyway. Now g3, knight f6, going back. Knight e5 was also an idea, but I thought this doesn't really work, because if he takes and then goes f3, I'm an exchange up for now, but I thought this bishop on h1 will get is trapped and will get taken by knight g4, knight f2. So I went for knight f6 instead, bishop g2, and now bishop a8, just not letting him take anymore. And then sooner or later preparing to kick that knight out with knight e8. Again, knight e5 is something to calculate here, but after knight e5, bishop g2, rook g1, Bishop a8, I was thinking about g4 here, when those knights are quite strong and there's no good way probably to kick this knight out. I mean, I was thinking about something like this here. It's maybe also playable, knight e8, but in general I didn't feel so good going here, and bishop a8 seemed like a very logical alternative. Short castle and now knight d8. That's why I went bishop a8, because if I go here now, then he has the option to take here and then pin me with knight d4, for example, or just short castle when, yeah, probably this is also playable, but I thought knight d4 is a bit annoying here. So I went bishop a8 and knight e8, knight e4, which surprised me a little bit because I thought this move f5 is anyway what I want, but it was actually not bad at all from my opponent. I was mostly considering that he would take here and go something like rook d1, but I thought I have no issues at all here. Quite a comfortable position for black. So he went for this, knight e4, f5, knight c3, knight f6. I thought this move f5 is anyway quite useful because I have quite nice central control now. He went rook d1, and here again I spent some time, which was probably time well spent because I originally intended to go rook f d8, but then after some thinking I decided that my rook on f8 might be quite useful on the f file if I manage to get something going on the king side. So I decided for this. He went b4 and now h6, so I'm kind of making the plan clear that I want to start some business on the king side with g5 and g4 perhaps. And here he went queen d6, which I was very happy to see. I thought now I'll get an endgame, which usually I very much like to play and have probably quite nice chances because the pawn on c4 will always be a weakness. So yeah, I was very, very happy here, but again, spent way too much time here. Almost, how much was it? Like 15 minutes. I just have no explanation for that. Queen d6 is what I played. I was also thinking about the move queen f7 here to keep queens on the board, but here I didn't like knight e5. And after takes, I thought, yeah, now his queen is probably more active than mine, so this didn't make any sense. And I was mostly thinking if I should take on d6 or if I should go g5 right away. But then I didn't like that after takes, my knight is on e7. I thought it's better placed on c6 anyway, because now he has knight b5 perhaps with a tempo. And also what I played in the game taking, I thought the rook on d6 can be misplaced sometimes, because sometimes I have ideas with knight e4. So I went g5 here, which is a good move, having ideas with g4 to kick out white's knight on f3. And in general, I want to place this knight on e5, where it hits the pawn on c4 and protects the pawn on d7 as well. He went rook d1, now rook c8. Again, I spent some time. g4 was my original intention, but here I didn't like that he goes knight d4. And generally what I want to do here is go knight e5, but this fails here due to knight takes e6, and I cannot take back because of rook d8. I'm just losing an exchange. And otherwise, if I have to take here, then I thought he's quite happy. He can take perhaps with this rook. And yeah, now all of a sudden, I don't really want to exchange this knight. I want to put it on e5. So that's why I went rook c8 first, to kind of unpin my rook here from the d file. And here he went knight a4, which surprised me a little bit, because I thought this knight should probably try to go to d6 instead. But he played knight a4 with the idea to go for c5, which also made a lot of sense, to be honest. Here I went g4, knight e1, and knight e5. Now I finally got the knight to e5. Bishop a8, rook a8, and yeah, look at my time just. It's move 25 and I'm very low on time. I have a very comfortable position here. I'm probably slightly better, but simply the time management was an absolute disaster and is what cost me the game. So the pawn on c4 is weak. That's why he probably has to go for c5 sooner or later anyway. So it's what he played. And now again, I spent 8 minutes for this move, knight e4. I was mostly considering if I should go knight c4 or knight e4. Probably knight c4 might have been a smarter choice in hindsight, but again, I wasn't sure here. Also, I didn't check this with the computer yet. The idea was if rook d4, I thought I could take here. But still, even a position like this after cb6, I didn't really see what's in it for me. Probably it's just a draw anyway. But I was trying to look for more at this point of the game. So that's why I went knight e4, and now he completely shocked me with the move knight d3, which I totally didn't see at all. And I have to give it to my opponent. This was a really fantastic resource, especially from a practical point of view. I was only considering the move rook d4 here, when I was thinking about b5, knight b2, knight c3, and I still wasn't entirely sure if it's that good for me. But I thought that I at least have a draw here after rook d2, knight b1. If rook c2, I can take here with the tempo. And if rook d1, I thought I can at least repeat, or also knight takes e3 might be quite good for me. I'm winning a pawn. Still not entirely sure. If this d7 pawn drops, then he gets a lot of activity, but I thought here I'm somewhat safe. But he went for this move knight d3, which is an amazing resource, which I totally missed. And yeah, he gives the exchange, but in return he gets a lot of activity, and he will also get the pawn on d7. Instead of taking on d6, I guess I can also take here, but after take here, he's definitely not in any danger anymore. Pawn on d7 will probably fall, and yeah. So I thought this is principled to take the exchange. Knight takes e5, and now I went for knight f7, which is, I think, still the best move here. I was also considering moves like knight b5 and knight e4, but I didn't want to allow him to take on d7 with the knight. And after knight f7, I didn't want to allow him to take with the rook. Sorry, that's what I meant. So after knight f7, now he has to take with the knight. Rook d8, still the best move. So until here, I actually played basically a perfect game. But here again, rook d3, best move by him. Just defending the rook that I don't have any knight e5 ideas. And here is where things started to go wrong. I took on c5, which was quite a bad move because it simply brings in his knight into activity, and now my rook on a8 is also totally out of play. Instead, I should go rook c8, and after c takes b6, which I was thinking about, take on b6, knight b6, rook c2, I actually have a lot of activity here. I thought that his pawns would be way too fast in this position, but let's just say he starts pushing them. I also have my own threats, like I have ideas with checkmate, knight g5, knight f3, rook e1, or knight h3. So I don't know, here perhaps king g7, and if a6, I could perhaps think about ideas like this. I don't know if this works, but some idea like the, or rook e1 first and knight g5 could be one idea when I have this threat of knight h3. So this was the way to go. Also now my rook is finally active, so this made a lot more sense, even though, yeah, also from a practical point of view, it's not entirely easy to evaluate this. So being low on time, I took on c5. Now it's back to equal. Knight a takes c5, knight g5 was a good move, defending the pawn on e6. f4, also good move by him. Otherwise, again, I have some checkmating ideas, so he just wants to have some space for his king and also kick out my knight on g5. I took and went for e5. Again, here we played quite well. I was hoping for him to take here when I can finally get rid of one rook and I'm probably out of any danger at all, maybe even better. But he went for h4, another good move. This forces me to go for e4. He has to move the rook. If he goes for knight f6 check, this was something I was originally calculating, king f7, and yeah, rook takes d8. Now I had to see that knight takes f3 wins for me, because if rook d8, he will win the game because of hg5 and the knight is attacked, knight is protected. But I have knight takes f3. So he went rook d5, another very good practical decision. Knight takes f3 check, king f2, and here it started to go really wrong for me. So I was on 2 minutes here and went for the move king f7, which also doesn't make any sense at all. I wanted to bring the king to e7, but just didn't realize that both of my pawns are falling. I mean, I'm also running right into the check with rook f5. Instead, I should have gone for king h8 perhaps to run go out of these checks. And now if he takes, I can yeah, perhaps activate my knight via c2. So here I'm not in any danger here. Or at least it's much better than what happened in the game. Even though also here I have to be careful, like moves like rook f7, perhaps threatening knight f6 with some checkmating ideas. So it's still, practically speaking, it's not easy whatsoever. Also knight h2 was one move which the computer was saying with the idea of knight g4 next. But I went for king f7, rook f3, king e7. Rook f4, what he played, just trying to take here. Knight d2, king e2, and here, with, again, being very low on time, Went completely wrong with knight b1, just trapping my own knight. I thought this guy is somehow coming out, but simply he isn't. I had to go for knight b3 in this position, which, to be fair, is also not that easy to see being low on time. He cannot take that well because I can always take the knight on d7. And if rook takes e4, I don't even know where I go here. Like, being low on time, this is so hard to calculate, because if king f7, I guess knight e5 just wins on the spot. Then he will take on b3. So I guess I have to go for king d6 here, but yeah, probably works, but yeah, not so clear at all. Like, I guess I'm going here, and probably works in the end. I don't know what is the best after knight b3 for white. Let me just briefly check. Knight e5 apparently is the best. So after knight c5, he has knight c6. So this is the engine line here. Knight d4 check, king f2. Also not clear why not king e3. Don't know entirely. Maybe I'm just picking up this pawn. But my king is just so weak. Like, it looks like I'm getting checkmated on the spot in some cases. So king f2, rook e8 is apparently the best move. a4, rook c8. So apparently this is somehow holding a draw for me, but it looks very scary already. So I went for knight b1, and after rook e4 check, king d6. Perhaps another inaccuracy. Computer says king f7 is better. But this was the 40th move, so I was on seconds as well. King d6, and now he found rook d4 check and rook d3. This is kind of what I missed from afar, and now my knight is simply getting trapped on b1. And I have nothing left here. Simply rook b3 is coming. I went for a5. I was also thinking about rook c8 here, but here I thought that rook e3 is very smart. And because the thing was, if I go rook d3 right away, I thought I have some drawing chances if I take here. Rook takes b1, and now rook c2 check I thought is important, even though it might also be lost. Because if rook c3, he has rook d1 check followed by rook d3, protecting both these pawns. But I thought rook c2 might be a bit annoying for him to face. If he goes here, then I'm picking up the pawn on a3. Again, this could be lost, but at least I thought I have some drawing chances here. And if the king goes to d3, I thought I have rook g2, and if it goes to the first rank, then I have rook c3, picking up one of these pawns. But the issue was rook e3 first. At least that's what I thought. And now if I go to f7, I don't have any ways to sack the exchange anymore. And if I go to d6, then the issue is after rook b3. If now rook d7, he's not taking this guy, but he's taking this guy on d7. So rook d3 check, king c6, rook d7. And I'm just 2 pawns down. If he takes here, I'm taking here. If I'm taking on a3, he's taking here, picking up this pawn on h6, so it's just lost. So this was my issue here. So I tried the move a5, but kind of underestimated, or also didn't see that he can simply go b5. And now my original intention was to take here on a3, but then I saw that he can simply push the pawn b6, and it's just game over. Something like knight c4, for example, just b7, rook b8, takes, and rook d7, and it's just completely lost. If king goes here, knight a6, and if I go here, it's something like I don't know, rook c7, rook h7, everything is winning. Knight a6 is just coming next. So yeah, that's what I missed. That's what I missed. b6. I only saw, I think, this, and then I thought this is probably a draw. So just very poor calculation at this point as well. So I tried a4, but again b6 just, and rook c8, b7, rook c7. He also played, had a very good technique. I have to give it to him. Knight b6 was a great move. He cannot promote right away, or at least not that well, because now I finally have some drawing chances, because I might get the pawn on a3, and it's probably a draw here. But knight b6 was a great move. Now I cannot take here because he's simply queening. So I went rook here, and now knight d5 check, king c6, he's taking here. By the way, I thought that b8 queen first is even more accurate because of the takes. Now knight c7, and now he has knight a6 check. That was the thing. But he took first, and now this b8 doesn't work because I can take with the king. Also winning for white, but You get the point. He went king f2. I didn't exactly know why. He could also just take on f4 right away. But it's also winning, and yeah, moves are not that important anymore. So yeah, I played on a little bit, but here I resigned. So yeah, I'm just super disappointed by how it's going. You could probably tell from my mood, but I still hope you enjoyed the recap of today's game, and hope that you were able to find some value in my analysis. If you did, leave a comment, leave a like. It helps out. It really helps out the channel to grow, and at least I still have you guys, which is great. I'm always looking forward to recording those recaps, and to hear your feedback in the comment section. So this is kind of what keeps me going in this situation. So yeah, tomorrow is a rest day. Let me know if there's anything you would like to see from tomorrow. Otherwise, I already have some ideas content-wise for the rest day. And otherwise, I'm just gonna go to the gym tomorrow finally, and try to forget about today's game. And yeah, so that's it for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed the recap, even though I was not in the best shape for today's game. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.